Welcome to this video brought to you by ASWATAX. My name is Omar Aswat. Before I go on to explain the three types of domicile status, I just want to quickly outline why domicile status is important in the first place. So, domicile status is important from a UK tax perspective for two primary reasons. Number one, from a personal tax position, which is that so you have UK residency and then you have UK domicile. Two different aspects that need to be looked at separately. The rules are completely different, the legislation is different. And from a personal tax perspective, domicile status is important if an individual would like to access the remittance basis, something called the remittance basis. That's a completely different topic. But effectively, if you are UK resident, UK domiciled, then you'll be taxed on something called the arising basis. So you will be taxed on your worldwide income and gains. However, if you are UK resident non-domiciled, so non-UK domiciled or non-dom as they call it in a fancy manner, you will only be taxable on your UK income and gains. So you see the benefit there, right? Which is a non-domiciled individual can shelter income and gains from offshore, from overseas. So that's a massive benefit. The second key reason why domicile status is important is from an inheritance tax position. So just to be clear, for UK tax purposes, the residency status for inheritance tax is I don't want to say completely irrelevant. It's not completely irrelevant. However, the domicile status is what we look at. The reason why it's not completely irrelevant is because you can become deemed domiciled, and that relates back to your UK residency position. So it is slightly relevant. However, the first point of contact would be whether you are UK domiciled or not. So a UK domiciled individual will be liable to inheritance tax on their worldwide assets, okay? And a non-UK domiciled individual will only be liable to UK IHT on UK situs assets. Situs effectively means location. It's a Latin word. Effectively means locations. For example, property would be property located physically in the UK, or a company incorporated in the UK. And the list goes on. So now you will start to realize why domicile status is important, okay? Especially from a personal tax position, capital gains tax as well, and UK inheritance tax. The tax savings can be, the tax difference can be significant. So what we do for our clients, just to be clear, domicile status can either be very straightforward, okay? So for example, I'm born in the UK, live in the UK. It can be straightforward. However, there are cases where it can get extremely complex, and that's why you'll probably be watching this video. So we have for our clients, we basically, for our clients, we provide a formal domicile opinion. Why? Because there's no formal mechanism to start discussing with HMRC. Self-assessment. You have to declare your domicile status on your self-assessment tax return or your IHT 100 form. And, in complex cases, it's not straightforward. So based on our experience, we can do our research, using the information you provide us to then provide a formal opinion, an opinion that you can rely on, and an opinion that you can sort of be comfortable with your self-assessment. So, like UK inheritance tax, there might be a massive difference, because when we're looking at domicile status, broadly speaking, or the default position is an individual coming to the UK, okay? So an individual that comes to the UK will not have a UK domicile position by default. We'll come into that in more detail. But ideally, that individual would want to shelter their offshore assets. Why pay 40% IHT on assets that are situated abroad and the value might be quite significant? So the clients that do come to us, there is a lot of tax at stake. Okay, so as I say, it might be straightforward, so we don't really get involved in those cases. For example, one particular case comes to mind where we had an individual who was born in India, but then had ties to UK. So property was based in the UK, and that's why we had to sort of get involved. Property in the UK, children in the UK, but then living in Russia, lived in Brazil for a few years. There was some connection to the Middle East, so there's a lot going on, and you can't just sort of read a few bits on the internet and say, okay, yeah, I'm non-UK domicile, because HMRC will challenge you, especially if you have UK assets and non-UK assets. HMRC will look to challenge. As I say, it's self-assessment, so you'd have to declare it on the SA 109 for personal tax purposes, and then it's up for HMRC to challenge. If you have a formal opinion from us, then you can just be content that professionals have looked into it and provided formal opinion, which you can then rely on, which is our risk that we're taking. So you can come back to us and we'll defend any inquiry should that be the case. We've never had an inquiry with any domicile positions we've sort of commented on. So yeah, do get in contact. My email address is down below, omar@aswatax.co.uk. We are chartered tax advisors regulated by the Chartered Institute of Taxation. Now, before we go on to the main event, domicile, there's 3 types of domicile status. Number 1 is domicile of origin. Number 2 is domicile of dependence. And number 3 is domicile of choice. I'll go through these in decent detail. And then there's also something called deemed domiciled, which I'll outline in a separate video. Therefore, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I hope I don't sound too pushy in terms of, like, do this, do that. That's not the aim of this video, honestly. The aim of this video is to give you an informed explanation. So number 1 is domicile of origin. And this is the original or the default position of an individual. So this is what is inherited at birth, which is effectively the domicile status or the location of your father at the point of birth. It can be your mother if your parents were not married, and then there are further details. For example, if you were adopted, this, that, there's no need for us to go into that much detail. If you do have a situation where that's the case, then you can feel free to reach out. But broadly speaking, the domicile of origin is your father or your mother's status or position or location at birth. And so it's the same as your father or your mother if your parents were not married. This is your default position for life. Okay, your domicile of origin does not change unless it's superseded by either your domicile of dependence or domicile of choice. Most individuals that come to the UK are likely to have a domicile of origin outside the UK, right? Think about it. Coming to the UK, parents were most likely based overseas. So meaning that they are a non-UK domiciled individual. Now, most likely, unless you plan to, set up and permanently reside in the UK, and this is something that we need to take care of, and this is what we take care of for our clients. We can, we've been looking at this for years, so we know, how to sort of advise how to remain non-UK domicile, for example, especially if the tax at stake is large, is significant. It's important to take professional advice because we know how to advise accordingly, and we can advise beforehand, even before some clients, even before they come to the UK, we give them advice: do this, do this, do that, and don't do this, and avoid this, to ensure non-UK domicile status. So, and then again, if you come into the UK, you just have to keep an eye out on the deemed domiciled rules. Again, broadly speaking, it's very difficult to displace your domicile of origin, and it has to be superseded by your domicile of dependence or domicile of choice. Domicile of dependence is, so we said so effectively the domicile of dependence is from birth to the age of 16. So domicile of dependence means that your domicile status follows the person that you are legally dependent on. So it might be, again, your mother, your father. It just follows. That's domicile of dependence. And if you are married before, I think it was 1 Jan 1974. In fact, I don't need to go into that much detail. Domicile of dependence is basically you follow the status of the individual that you are legally dependent on, usually your parents. Number 3, domicile of choice. Now, this is very subjective. Okay, and it's only possible to have a domicile of choice from the age of 16 onwards. It's very subjective in the sense that you effectively are making a choice, an active effort, an active choice to change your domicile of origin or domicile of dependence. Okay, so you are effectively saying that I was, for example, born in Saudi Arabia, let's say, but now, it works more the other way around. So if you have someone born in the UK, let's just say an individual wants to leave the UK. Now they move to another country. Let's just say they move to Dubai. Okay, a lot of people are flocking to Dubai. Now, does that mean the day they move, they are non-UK domiciled, even though they're born in the UK? The answer is no. They're still UK domiciled. Domicile of choice then means that you need to make active effort to prove that you are non-UK domiciled. So this can be, severing ties with the UK completely, an active intention, showing that you are now based in another jurisdiction, you're based in another country, your will, for example. And, there's many aspects, and this is basically what we look at. Like, I've literally got, I think, about 36 questions that I go through when determining or when providing a formal opinion on an individual's domicile status. So remember, it's not straightforward. In some cases, it's straightforward. Look, to be fair, most cases will be straightforward, but there's always that 10%, 15%, which those are the individuals that we advise. And you might fall in one of those 10, 15%. That's why you're watching this video, otherwise there's no need. So just remember, domicile of choice is something we can expertly advise on. We know from experience how to sort of revoke your domicile of origin being the UK and having a different domicile of choice, and vice versa. So it just depends on your situation, whether you come into the UK. So for example, if you come into the UK, you'd want to maintain your offshore domicile status, right? Because if you come to the UK, you don't want to be taxed on your worldwide income and gains or on your worldwide assets for IHT purposes. So we'd ensure that, or we'd assist you. Obviously, sometimes black and white is clear, but obviously we can advise whether or how you can maintain your offshore domicile status. And an individual that lives in the UK but plans to move overseas, retire overseas, done with the UK, fed up with the UK, poor weather, politics is a bit of a mess as well, to be fair. Like this video has been shot in April 2023. In the last year, we've had like 3 different budgets that have just been like up, down. So, there is a lot of uncertainty, and many have been moving overseas. So we can also advise on revoking your UK domicile of origin. As I mentioned at the start, is self-assessment. So we don't be heroes and start shouting to HMRC, oh, I changed my domicile status. Like, oh, come check me out. It doesn't work like that. It's self-assessment. We make the decision. We liaise with you, and we'll come to a conclusion. And yeah, I've been seeing this a lot, hence why I'm making this video. I've been seeing this a lot, both ways, individuals leaving the UK, individuals coming to the UK. And I'm happy when individuals take expert advice, not just because obviously it's work for us. It's a lot of it comes down to the certainty and peace of mind for the client. That's the whole aim here. That's why clients pay us, to provide a formal opinion. As I say, it's something that you can rely on. And if HMRC were to ask any questions, then we've prepared the work, we've prepared the opinion, we've done our research, and we're comfortable with whatever advice that we give you. So feel free to get in touch, and I hope you found this video beneficial and useful. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I shall see you in the next video, deemed domiciled for UK tax purposes.